Welcome to the global relay of Terramodere 2020, a virtual journey in 5 parts that crosses continents and time zones. A global dialogue on the big questions of our age with experts from all over the world, from Asia Pacific to Africa, from Europe to North America until South America. We will tackle some of the most important topics that Slow Food is working on, such as climate crisis, biodiversity, agroecology, migrations, sustainable development strategies, safeguard of commons, equity, inclusion, and the rights of indigenous peoples. Hi, I'm Dai Kitabayashi from Okinawa, Japan. I am a member of Advisory Board of Slow Food Indigenous Peoples Network. I'm happy to be part of Terramodere 2020, our food, our planet, our future. Food is essential for every single person on this planet. Every day we make decisions on what we eat. This means food is giving us the opportunity to think about the future of this society on an everyday basis. Slow Food has been developing the network throughout the world and has been advocating for the sustainable food system. This is the time we need to make the change, and the global network of Slow Food can make it happen. For several months, the whole world has been focused on the global health crisis and the consequent economic crisis. But the real threat is the environmental crisis, which greatly amplifies these other crises. The climate and environmental crisis is the main problem which we need to confront if we're guaranteed our sustainable future for human life and indeed for all life on this planet. Climate crisis is not a purely environmental problem. It is an economic and social issue. The climate crisis generates social inequalities and is a threat to human rights. The emergency we are experiencing is also a question to human rights and global justice. Measures to fight the climate crisis should give an answer to social inequalities and protect the weakest and most vulnerable section of the population. How can we do this? To continue on the same path is not an option that we can consider. Are we able to create something new? Or how can we redirect our actions and our behavior? Today, we will talk about this topic. We will talk about this topic with Ms. Sunita Narain and Mr. Bao Huan and Mr. Bruce Pascoe. Thank you everyone for your time today. I will introduce each as we go. So I would like to invite Ms. Sunita Narain from India as the first speaker of the session. She is the Director General of the India-based Research Institute, the Center of Science and Environment. Also the Director of the Society for Environmental Communications, and not only that, editor of the fortnightly magazine, Down to Earth. Hi Sunita, how are you doing?
Hi Dai, good to be with you.
Thank you very much for joining us today. We are so glad to welcome you to this session.
Thank you.
So I would like you to tell us the impact of climate injustice you see in India and the world. Are there any particular groups who are more affected by climate change effects? And what can we do as individuals and society to stop this?
Thank you, Dai. Thank you so much for asking me. And I think it's such a valuable conversation that we're having on the challenges of our day. And we do this at a time when we have seen the world's greatest disruption. I mean, I have not lived through the World War period, and I can certainly see the way our economies have collapsed and the way we have seen life change in the last 5 to 6 months is something that we had never seen before. But this is where, when we are sitting in the middle of the corona and the COVID-19 crisis, it is important for us to think about the multiple crises that are breaking in our world. And the fact that many of these are linked to the way we have done development till now. And if we don't talk about this, we are not going to be looking at how we can make the change. Therefore, the multiple crises will stay with us. Even if we get over the current COVID-19 and the vaccine magically appears and we feel safe again, the fact is all the underlying reasons why these crises are coming together is something that we will not have fixed, and we are in danger still. And I think that's why this conversation becomes so important to have. You talked about the climate crisis. I mean, the fact of the matter is, today in my world, I live in India, I work in India, and in my world, we can see the impact of climate change happening in our lives today. It is affecting the poorest, it is affecting the most marginalized, and it's affecting most of all the farming communities in our world. Let's look at what's happened just in this past year and the impacts of climate change as we are beginning to see it. The fact is, today we are seeing what we are calling intensification of cyclonic activities that are happening from the Bay of Bengal in our region and the Arabian Sea. And this means that we are seeing more intense, more frequent cyclones. It basically means that you devastate the homes of the already very poor, the marginalized, who have very little to depend upon, and they live within what can only be called this extremely, terrible cycle of destitution, where the development dividend, the effort that is made to build their lives, to build the schools, to provide them wherewithal, are all taken away with what is clearly not today a natural disaster. These are man-made events. Because even if we had cyclones in the past, the sheer intensity and frequency of the cyclones, as we are beginning to see it, is because of climate change. And this is really what you call the double whammy that we are seeing today. We have poor development that is happening in our world, where governments haven't invested enough in the social, in building the social infrastructure of poor communities, in making sure that we build for ecological security. And on top of that, you're getting extreme weather events. Take a look at floods today. I mean, most of our part of the region is under flood because because today rainfall comes with extreme rain events. So you're getting massive downpours that are happening. And this, scientists say, is clearly linked to climate change. So with these extreme rain events, you get flooding happening across the region. You get the fields of poor farmers underwater. And this is happening because of the way we are also doing development. We are building in floodplains. We are building where we should never have built. We are not investing enough in our water infrastructure, in creating ponds, tanks, lakes, which could be the sponges for the water. And without this ecological infrastructure, without the social infrastructure, climate change is coming as a double whammy. And this is really what we have to understand, the sheer injustice of it, the immorality of it, because at the end of the day, it is the poor in the world who are not the cause of the emissions, the greenhouse gas emissions that are today providing the stock of emissions in the atmosphere, which are leading to temperature increases, which are leading to these extreme weather changes that we are beginning to see and the devastation. But they are the victims of climate change. And I think that immorality is something that we have to talk about, because for too long we have believed that the very word morality is something which is very old-fashioned, something you don't talk about. that the whole world is about, business as usual. It's about moving ahead. It's about, winners taking all, and that if the poor are poor, it's their fault. But the fact is today, it is our development, our growth, our emissions in the atmosphere, which are leading to their devastation. And that then tells us what climate change is about. It also tells us what the future has to be. Because let's be very clear, the poor are victims of climate change today. The rich will also be victims of climate change tomorrow. There is no society in the world which is so rich that it can withstand the devastation that will come because of climate change. And I think that's the issue that needs to be discussed today as we sit in a COVID hit world. We need to talk about what this world that we have built till now has to provide the lessons for in the world that we go forward. The fact is that if you look at COVID-19, it's about the dystopian relationship we have with nature. It's about the dystopian relationship we have with the way we grow our food, with the food we consume, that we have built food not as a livelihood option which provides nutrition for people, but we have built food as an industry, as something that essentially takes away from the land and does not reinvest in it. And I think that's really where the conversation of the future has to move to. When we talk about the future, the new normal that we are talking about, the new compact post-COVID that we are talking about, we need to talk about how we can rebuild both the relationship with nature as well as our relationship which builds a relationship between communities. Because the one thing that we have learned in this pandemic is that, whatever we may talk about, the new normal has brought us, the one thing that we have missed more than anything is the lack of the community, the lack of a sense of being part of the community. And that's really the biggest lesson going forward, because climate change is about building a cooperative agreement, both between nations and within nations. And if you start doing that, then you build for cooperation between the urban and the rural. In the rural, you build for cooperation between the land and the farmer. You build for cooperation between the rich nations and the poor nations, because you accept the fact that we are all vulnerable and that we have to make the changes for the new future. So I think that's really, to me, the big lessons that come out of our current crisis. And I don't think, if we cannot understand disruption and we cannot understand the need for change now, we will never do so as humanity. So I can only hope that the COVID crisis and the lessons and the shocks that it has given us will teach us much more for the multiple crises that remain in our world and the new ones that are going to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sunita. I agree. Like in our country, same, like poor people are the one who gets the biggest impact on this. And yeah, they're having really, really tough time. And it's always like this. And I think there is lack of discussion of the connection between the climate crisis and the current crisis we're facing. So we definitely should keep talking about this, and we need to get back the sense of being part of the community, and we work together and help each other in small groups. That I really agree with you. And I think that really connects to the next question, to the next speaker. So for the second speaker, I would like to invite Mr. Hwang from Korea. And he is a writer a farmer and has built an eco-village in Yangkwan, a small rural town located in southern part of South Korea, and also actively involved in life peace movement. So Mr. Hwang, thank you very much for joining us today. How are you doing?
예, 잘 있습니다. 예. 잘 지냅니다.
Okay. So I would like to
자, 그럼 선생님께 드리고 싶은 질문은
the pandemic has clearly demonstrated how much nature can influence man's life. What are our responsibilities with regards to the profound changes taking place? Could you share your thoughts on that? And it would be great if you can hear your opinion on how these kinds of difficult and traumatic events can become opportunities for a positive future, respectful of nature and its ecosystem.
알겠습니다.
Okay, I will do.
It's great to see you to
그래서
all of you.
감사드립니다.
Thank you for giving this opportunity for me.
지금 우리는 문명
So
역사상
now we are
가장
facing
위중한
very
시기를 지나고
difficult
있습니다.
situations than ever before we saw so far.
타인을
So
접촉해서도
now
안
no
되고
contact others
멀리 돌아다녀서도
and
안
no go
된다.
around away from your home.
코로나 바이러스
So this is the
시대의
new normal
뉴노멀.
in the era of the COVID-19.
사회적 동물인
So no
인간에게
contact
타인을 만나지
others
말라는
means
것은
the social
죽으라는
death
말과
sentence for
같습니다.
people.
다행인지 불행인지
Anyhow, now
일찌감치
people
자연으로부터
living in the
벗어난
modern society
현대인에게
have been away from the
컴퓨터와
nature.
TV 그리고 택배 시스템이 있습니다. 골방에 틀어박혀 컴퓨터나 들여다보면서 배달된 음식을 먹고 견디면 이 위기를 벗어날 수 있을까요? 천만의 말씀입니다. 비축했던 돈이 떨어지고 경제 상황이 전반적으로 악화되면 앉아서 굶어 죽는 수밖에 없습니다. 재정이 튼튼한 국가라면 국민들을 어느 정도 먹여 살릴 수 있겠지만 그렇지 못한 국가들은 오로지 살기 위해서 전쟁을 일으킬 것입니다. 환경위기에 전쟁까지 겹치면 게다가 이 전쟁은 틀림없이 핵전쟁일 텐데 문명의 종말은 피할 길이 없을 것입니다. 지금 우리가 겪고 있는 기후위기와 코로나 팬데믹은 인간이 만든 것입니다. 산업혁명 이후 인간은 자본주의를 삶의 기본 양식으로 채택하고 자연과 인간에 대한 무자비한 착취를 계속해왔습니다. 인간에 대한 착취는 극심한 불평등을, 그리고 자연에 대한 착취는 기후위기와 전염병의 창궐을 가져왔습니다. 이런 극단의 위기 상황 속에서도 인간들은 나만 잘 살아보겠다고 갖은 순수와 계책을 남발하고 있습니다. 먼저 위기의 근원을 찾아야 합니다. 그리고 잘못된 지점에서부터 다시 시작해야 합니다. 만약 잘못된 지점을 찾지 못하고 우왕좌왕하다가 자연으로부터 결정타를 맞게 되면 인류는 맨 땅에서 다시 시작해야 합니다. 석기 시대에서 다시 시작하느냐, 아니면 인류가 그동안 축적한 유산을 일부나마 가지고 시작하느냐는 큰 차이입니다. 어떻게든 지금의 상태를 유지하려 하거나 인위적으로 파국을 조장하여 특권층만을 위한 사회를 만들려고 하는 자들은 멸망을 재촉하는 사람들입니다. 지난 세기 어느 시점에선가 인간은 자연계의 정화 능력을 넘어서는 오염물질을 배출하기 시작했습니다. 그와 동시에 토지의 생산 능력을 넘어서는 인구 증가가 계속되었습니다. 늘어나는 식량 수요에 대처하기 위해 경작지를 무한히 확대했는데 이는 숲의 감소와 야생동물 서식지 파괴, 단장농업 확대, 토질 저하, 생물 동자양성 파괴, 불량식품 만연, 그리고 건강 악화로 이어졌습니다. 야생동물의 서식지 파괴로 인해 동물들이 인간의 거주지로 들어옴에 따라 인수 공통 전염병에 노출되기 시작했습니다. 박쥐로부터 비롯된 코로나 바이러스는 이 가운데 하나입니다. 도시와 공장, 대규모 목장에서 배출되는 각종 온실가스로 인해 지구는 점점 뜨거워지고 있습니다. 이로 인해 전 세계의 빙하가 녹아 해수면이 상승하고 기후위기가 악화되고 있습니다. 이 모든 위기의 중심에는 인간의 탐욕에 근거한 자본주의가 있습니다. 자본주의는 인간의 탐욕을 가장 극단적으로 이용하는 체제로 둘 사이 궁합이 너무도 잘 맞아 물질적 탐욕이 인간성의 근본으로 여겨질 정도입니다. 장관 인류의 역사를 되짚어보면 자본주의 이전의 인간들은 결코 그렇지 않았음을 알 수 있습니다. 따라서 위기를 벗어나려면 탐욕에 근거한 자본주의 체제를 타파하고 새로운 사회 체제로 나아가야 합니다. 코로나 팬데믹은 이 전환을 위해 하늘이 내려주신 기회입니다. 전환은 두 차원에서 동시에 이루어져야 합니다. 먼저 의식이 전환되어야 합니다. 지금까지 인류 문명은 인간을 우주의 중심에 두고 나머지는 모두 인간을 위해 복무하는 것으로 인식했습니다. 이제부터는 생명을 중심에 두고 세상을 바라봐야 합니다. 인간은 지구 생태계를 구성하는 다른 생물종과 동등한 가치를 지니고 있습니다. 따라서 인간은 다른 생물종과 똑같이 생태계를 유지하는 두 기둥, 즉 생물 종다양성 유지와 먹이 사슬의 법칙을 지켜야 합니다. 생물 종다양성과 먹이 사슬은 서로 보완적 관계입니다. 종이 다양할수록 먹이 사슬은 길고 복잡해지며 이는 바로 건강한 생태계의 지표입니다. 인간 역시 먹이 사슬의 일부이기 때문에 인간의 상위 포식자인 미생물의 존재를 있는 그대로 받아들여야 합니다. 생물학적 능력으로만 보면 인간은 미생물의 적수가 되지 못합니다. 인간이 생태계를 해치지 않고 자신을 보존하려면 미생물과 공생해야 합니다. 다음은 사회경제체제를 협동과 조화에 근거한 생명지역주의로 전환해야 합니다. 살림살이의 구역을 생태적 순환과 경제적 작업이 가능한 보다 큰 구역으로 나누고 현재의 도시인구를 재배치해야 합니다. 자본주의는 생명지역을 해치지 않는 범위에서 작동하도록 세심히 조절됩니다. 어차피 현재의 자본주의는 바이러스 팬데믹으로 인해 축소될 수밖에 없으므로 멸망하느니 협동과 조화에 기초한 새로운 체제로 변화되어 가는 것이 바람직합니다. 인간이 좀 더 겸손해지고 욕심을 줄이면 다른 생물종과 얼마든지 공생할 수 있습니다. 종다양성이 풍부한 생명지역에서 친환경 기술로 재배한 건강한 먹거리를 취하며 주위의 미생물과 공생하다 보면 우리 몸의 면역력이 강화되어 어떤 병도 이겨낼 수 있습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huang. It was really important topics. It was really important the change that you mentioned, the two changes.
예, 감사합니다. 좋은 의견 감사하고요. 예.
Definitely needs to be changed. I agree. And the ecosystem, economic system, ecological circulation centric economic system. Yes, I really hope, I think these topics, the human centric view and like human needs to realize how we are part of part of the ecosystem and then we need to protect the biodiversity has been discussed, has been argued during the eco-activist. But I hope this COVID-19 was the wake-up call for anybody, for everyone who's seen this crisis. And it's I think it's really a huge wake-up call. So we need to keep discussing on those topics. And like you said, Mr. Kwan, yes, the cultivation, mass cultivation is one of the key factors of this climate change or causing the global warming. So that's the point that we would like to ask you to ask Mr. Bruce to talk about. So I'm gonna invite the third speaker, Mr. Bruce from Australia. Hi, Mr. Bruce. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Very well. Thank you very much for joining us today. And I also, I would like you to introduce you. Mr. Bruce is a writer and is best known for his work, Dark Emu. Is that Dark Emu? Your book? Yes. And Black Seas, Agriculture or Accident. He also is a professor at the John Bunnell Institute for Indigenous Education and Research at the University of Technology, Sydney. So I have also prepared the question for you, and it's really connected to the intervention of Mr. Juan. So to stop the climate crisis, it's been said that cultivating local native foods is one of the key elements. Could you tell us the importance of it? Are there any projects running in Australia? Could you get that?
My name is Bruce Pascoe and I'm a Yuin, Bunurong and Tasmanian man, and I'm living on Yuin country. For 120,000 years, our people were able to work in sympathy and harmony with the land to produce food. We relied on perennial plants, but we did cultivate, but we were able to not generate the carbon emissions that are happening at the moment and still get our food. And in our traditional culture, everybody got fed, everybody had a house, and everybody was able to take part in the culture equally. Australia is a colonial country. Racism has been devastating for our people and is continuing today. We are not in a post-colonial situation, it is still colonial. And the methods that our people used to grow food on the driest continent on earth have been supplanted by Western style agricultures using Northern Hemisphere plants on a very dry Southern Hemisphere continent. And the production of those plants is actually expending the capital that Aboriginal people built up over 120,000 years. So there was a period in colonial Australia where people became very rich, grazing sheep and growing wheat, shearing sheep and mining gold. And that covered over the fact that the new industrial agriculture was destroying the earth. We know this is not isolated to Australia. We know that other Western countries are destroying the soil and are impoverishing people, usually Indigenous people, in the search for ever greater riches, an exponential growth in gross national product. But we're begging Australia to look again at their country, the country that was stolen from our people. That's never going to change. The country will never come back to us. But together, Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people must work out a way where we can survive, where we can look after the earth so that we will all survive. And it's not about loving lions, tigers and kangaroos, because we believe the creatures of Australia, the kangaroo, the wombat, the shark, the whale, they are our cousins. They are us. And we all have responsibility for those animals because without them, we don't exist. They are our ancestors from the past and those elders from the future. So we can't divorce ourselves from the natural world. We must look after the natural world. And I think the capitalist world, the industrial agriculture of the world is expecting the present situation to continue and continue and continue. Well, climate change and COVID have shown us that there's no such thing as exponential growth. We have to look at caring for the earth, caring for animals and plants, and more importantly, caring for each other. And we're not. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and the world's press applauds that situation. We have so many newspapers, television channels, radio stations applauding the mega rich and their cunning in harbouring so much of the world's wealth. We need to stop that. We need to tell our children and our grandchildren that's not fair. It is not cool, it's not smart to impoverish 3/4 of the world's population. That is not a Christian act. It is not a Muslim act. It is not the act of any world religion. It is against the whole ethic of religion. And where we are on this land here now, on the banks of the Wallagra River, which is a saltwater river which runs into the lakes of Malakuta, we are trying to grow the old people's foods in the same way that the old people grew them. You know, we've got a tractor, we've got generators, you know, we've got internet, all of those things. But what we're trying to do is care for the earth. So there's not a plant here that we pull out of the ground, neither the grass nor the tuber. They are perennial. They stay in the ground. The root mass of one of our grasses, the kangaroo grass, is 1 metre by 1 metre. And that grass is holding the earth together. It is sequestering carbon. It is picking up moisture and minerals from way down in the earth. And that is the way the soil in Australia was built. And we have to be concerned that that capital is being expended for the sake of very few people. We're not caring for the total population of Australia. We're not caring for the total population of the world. We're allowing a very small percentage of people to become wealthy on the back of riches that have been developed over hundreds of thousands of years. And it's so short-sighted of the modern world to think that that can continue. So there is no point for us in condemning our politicians and ridiculing our politicians, what good will that do? We have to talk to our politicians. We have to talk to our industrialists, because if we don't do that, they will keep doing what they're doing, and they will deride us and hate us. But if we don't have a conversation, the world will continue going downhill, and we can't afford it. So we can't sit back and be smug and happy that we are right. That's not going to help anyone. We have to convince those with the power that if they want to survive and if they truly love their grandchildren, that they will look after the earth better. And I have 4 grandchildren. They are all in the house here at the moment because of COVID, because we're very remote and we can look after each other pretty well here. But they're the future, and I think if we can convince our politicians and our industrialists that their future lies not in their bank balance, but their grandchildren and the health of their grandchildren and the health of the world, that is our task. We can't be complacent. We can't be satisfied with ridicule of people like Donald Trump. We have to seriously engage in argument with those who we think are not going to agree with us. To lose one argument is nothing. To fail to argue is our fault. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bruce. It was really strong intervention, and I think caring for our nature, caring for our planet is definitely the key to go through this crisis. And we can live sustainably with this nature, with this globe. I wait for the airplane. Thank you very much, Ms. Sunita, Mr. Huang, Mr. Bruce. It was really, really important, strong interventions from each of you. And I think it was really, really great learning today. Yes, this crisis is just the beginning. We will have more crises coming. If we follow the same lifestyle, if we follow the same economic system, it will keep coming. These crises will be. And this crisis made us separated more. Like we need to have social distance. We need to stay home, and that will make more lack of the sense of being part of community. More individual lives will come, but we need to go back to our old lifestyle, or maybe the lifestyle that we could co-live with the nature, and the time that we cared about our planet. And we need to think about the globe, and we need to have the overall perspective. We need to sympathize with the nature, and we need to know that we're just part of this ecosystem. So that was the connection between all 3 interventions. And cultivating the local native seeds or food is one of the key that how we can maintain our food culture, our lives, and still care about our nature. So thank you very much for 3 of you. It was really a great time that we shared together. I hope you have a wonderful day ahead, And also, I hope you to stay safe. And I'm looking forward to having a day that we actually see each other in person somewhere around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dai. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Terra Madre Global Relay continues. We pass the floor to Eddie Mukibi for the next stop. That will be in Africa. Thank you for being with us, and Viva Terra Madre!